What a lovely looking group today. Thank you so much for joining us. Um, it is my pleasure to welcome you to our one of our coffee chat sessions. And these are so exciting because it's where we share with faculty members what's going on in their world, and so we've got we've got a lot going on in our worlds right now. So we're going to take a look at the faculty perspectives on remote instruction, and we are going to be sharing experiences, both theirs as well as yours. Our panelists today are Dr. Michelle Vaughn, Dr. Nancy Shahah, and Special Agent Ricky Langlois. Although he hasn't joined us yet, he will be coming in. He had another meeting that was going to be taking him for just a few minutes into ours, but he will be back. He has a fairly commanding presence. You'll know when he comes in. And I am Dr. Judy Summers, facilitating this for you today. So we are a community of practice, and our coffee chat sessions are one of the ways that we have of making that community a valid piece for all of us. So it's a fluid conversation with everyone with an equal voice, and we are all responsible for each other's learning. So there's no experts in the room today. There are some with plenty of experience, but there's not any experts on this. This is new territory for all of us. So we are here to share our experiences so that we can all learn and share with each other. So now I am going to, well, first of all, we're going to let our guests introduce themselves. And actually, I'm going to just stop this for just a moment. So uh, at the moment, we have Dr. Vaughn and Dr. Shahah. So I'm going to let you introduce yourselves. Michelle, you look really comfortable sitting there in that big comfy chair.
It is comfy.
Yeah.
um, okay, thanks, Judy. Um, as Judy mentioned, my name is Michelle Vana from the College of Education. I work in the Department of Curriculum, Culture, and Educational Inquiry, and we coordinate an online master's program. So I work a lot with CEL in course development and as well as online teaching and online pedagogy. And it's also a line of research that I do within my own work as well. So hopefully, I'm here today to talk about not only the curriculum aspect of online teaching, but also the human aspect of it and the teaching aspect of it and how we can connect with our students, regardless of the medium that we teach in. So hopefully this is going to be a good opportunity to just share some best practices across the entire university.
Yeah, and lessons learned. Lessons learned.
Absolutely.
Yeah, definitely. Dr. Shahada, welcome.
Hi, everyone. I'm Nancy Shahada. I'm an adjunct professor from the College of Business, and I'm also an online program coordinator. And I'm a big fan of these coffee chats. I like the way Dr. Judy made sure to note that we're all here to learn from each other. And hopefully we'll get some, good discussions coming along.
Absolutely, absolutely. And Dr. Shahada is going to be joining us 2 weeks from today in another coffee chat about sharing another one of the tools that she's really excited about. Let's get our guests, and I'm going to start out with some questions that I wanted to put to them, and let them answer. And as they go through, um, please feel free to bring your own questions in or comment on anything that they are saying. So here's the first one that I had. So what components of online courses do you feel contribute to student success?
I can jump in, Nancy, unless
Right.
Nancy wants to go first.
No, go for it.
Okay. I think that feedback is the most important component for student learning. It's, if the question was phrased differently, whether it's, student sense of belonging, it might be a different component, student connection to the professor, it might be a different component. But as far as student learning, and I think maybe student success as far as grade wise in the course, I think feedback is far and above your most important tool in your tool belt for teaching online. And if you're going to spend your time on anything, it really should be on giving that specific and encouraging feedback to your students. And it doesn't always have to be in the same format. You can vary your feedback, and I think it's important that you vary your feedback
Yeah.
depending on the assignment. You know, when you're grading discussion boards, it can be really tedious to go through and give written feedback on all the discussion board comments. It's tedious for them to do them, and it can also be tedious for us to grade them. So it's great to put that little feature on in Canvas, the video feedback, and talk to them for 2 minutes and just say, hey, this is what I was thinking when I was reading it. Great job. Thanks for participating. Thanks for thoughtful responses to your peers. Appreciate your effort. And then use your time wisely and spend your serious brain power time when you have a content heavy assignment and you want to give annotations within an assignment, and give feedback in a more detailed way.
Mm-hmm.
In that way, there's a better return on investment for your time there. But feedback is really important. And the comment back tool in feedback is also a great way to encourage dialogue. So if you give written feedback in that box and you encourage your students to comment back on you, it can start a dialogue trail about their feedback. So you can make sure that they understand things that might be really clear on our perspective, but are not clear to our students because they may be filled with jargon that we use all the time.
Yeah. And would I be correct, Michelle, in saying that you might be able to provide us with some research on feedback?
I would, yes.
Good. Thank
Yes,
you. I'll
I would.
send out the rest of the information. I had a feeling that might be something that we could get.
Yeah, I can definitely hand that over.
Yeah, thank you. Nancy, what about you? What's our question? Components that contribute to student success.
To add on to add on to what Michelle was saying, I can't agree with you more regarding feedback. I think one of the components that I believe is just the idea of connecting with your students, which is kind of the way, what Michelle noted towards the end of what she was saying regarding getting that dialogue going. With me, like weekly announcements, letting them know that I'm present in the course, I'm there, I'm visible. And again, that could be done even with your announcements. Sometimes I'll send out a written announcement. Sometimes I'll send out a video announcement. I really like the idea of changing it up, and, connecting with the students. And I feel like that in itself, knowing that, letting them know that you are there, because you want them to succeed, you want to see them succeed in your course, is very important.
Yeah, definitely. Absolutely. And what about any of our attendees, our participants? Anybody want to add something into what either in the chat or raise your hand to speak up about uh, what things that contribute to your student success? Yes, Jade has reminded us that you're welcome to join in the conversation because that's truly what it is a conversation among people who have been there, and or you can put your comments in the chat. Right.
Good afternoon.
Yes. Hi. Thank you.
Hi, this is Christina De La Rosa. For some reason, the video aspect of the meeting is not working on, so you might hear me but not see me.
That's okay. That's fine.
So I teach an anatomy and physiology lab, which is obviously a course that is taught in person, but due to the circumstances, we had to, of course, like everybody else, adapt to remote learning. And in the beginning, I was putting a lot of announcements, getting my Canvas page super organized, and I had a gut feeling that it would be a good idea to hold like a virtual class meeting, not necessarily a time to teach a lesson, but to check on the students. And I did it for, so we 1 week we said, okay, meeting at lab time, and it was a success. The students were so relieved to hear our voices,
Yeah.
to talk to us, to see us. At the beginning, they were shy, instead of in terms of asking questions.
Mhm.
Then once the first one asked a question, then everybody else started asking questions, laughing, just talking. I felt that they were very stressed, and that meeting calmed them. I reassured them that the circumstances had changed, but not my commitment to them, and it really helped, to the point that they want to have weekly meetings. So I'm also helping out teaching a microbiology lab section this semester. And I also did it with my students from micro, and the same thing.
Wow.
So I don't know, it's just that um, environment where you can talk, and they can talk
Mhm.
to you and ask you questions and see you. I think at least for this particular situation that we're going through, it had been very useful, and I just wanted to throw it out there like a touch base kind of activity. And I didn't put it mandatory. I put it optional, but
Right.
everybody shows up.
Yeah, yeah, yeah,
So thank
yeah.
you for letting
Thank
me.
you. Oh, of course, Christina, thank you. Your input is valuable. And Nancy, we have a question, a comment from Dr. Celestino. And I think it's something that you and I have talked about before, making the transition and the materials in Canvas, but just knowing, trying to figure out the logistics of how to make that work. When to schedule, when to put things online, that sort of stuff. Did you, when all of you, he said, basics. When do I schedule the course? When do I put it online? And how do I use a set time to discuss how to do the remote learning? So, yeah.
In kind of building your course or laying it out, or am I kind of like missing the question there?
Okay, Dr. Celestino, did you want to open your mic and have a chat? George has made a really good comment about how to address that and how to make it available for the students. He says that keeping a WebEx page open for a period of time rather than setting a specific meeting. And they know that on certain days and times they can just jump in and go in for one-on-one meeting.
Kind of like office hours. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. He
Yeah.
says they've indicated that they find those accessible meetings to be important to their success. So they know that there are times that they can reach out.
I think Judy can add a 2 cents into maybe Dr. Celestino's comment, and I may be off base, but maybe it's helpful for somebody in here. I don't think that the way that we do remote learning all has to look the same. So it doesn't have to look like everybody meets in one place at one time every week, like we're kind of used to and programmed to think about traditional face-to-face learning. It can look like completely independent learning, where you've got a syllabus and set times and things for them to do on their own, and then your course is run by assignment due dates. When you turn something in, maybe that's every Sunday something is due. It can look that way, or it can look like a combination of the two. There's no one way, there's no right way to do it, there's no wrong way to do it. As long as we over communicate to our students, hey, this is what's going on this week. And I think the best place to start is really in that announcement area, over communicating what you would like them to do today or this week, in the next 5 days, whatever your time period is that works for you in your course. This is what I'd like you to work on. This is where you can find it. And this is where you can find me. This is how I'll be available to you. If they know those three things kind of week by week and you're continuing to check in, I think that'll help until we can, it's hard to make a transition to remote learning when you're 3/4 of the way through a face-to-face semester.
No kidding.
And it's hard for them too. So it's like, let's just get through this thing here. But then when we start to think about what our summer courses might look like, or even our fall courses, we can look at it more holistically and think about, okay, does this course set up for every other week every other week virtual meetings? Do I need to check in with them monthly? Do I need to not check in at all and just have everything be,
Yeah.
on their own? And every course is different: undergrad, graduate, 2000 level, 4000 level, skill-based, field-based. I mean, every course is different, so there's a different setup.
Yeah, yeah.
Great point.
Let me explain where I'm coming from. I started doing the online full course, how to do this. What I found lacking was just what you just explained. I still need a little bit more because I'm, I'm being dragged into the 21st century after all these years. My online course right now, which is face-to-face, has been working beautifully. I know how to use Canvas. I have since it first started at FAU. I was the first in my department to actually go and get the training and have that put online. Everything I have is online, so that's not a problem. They know where to go and how to do it. I know how to send the announcements, things like that. But that's what the point that was missing, even with the training, is, oh, by the way, you set this up in advance, and that's what they do. I don't know if I'm supposed to video record certain aspects of the material I need them to do, because I'm teaching a measurement and evaluation class, and two of the projects are critical assignments. And if they fail the critical assignments, they fail the course. So it's been very hands-on, explaining to them point by point how to write a test, how to then evaluate the test. And what I have found one-on-one, face-to-face, has been helpful because I can record it, go point by point.
Yep.
And then they give me the feedback. That's really helpful because it's recorded. I can go back, I can look at it. I know what to do now. I need to know when I should do that and how I should do that as I start the course for the summer. Because I signed up, I said, okay, I'll do it. I asked for face-to-face real time, and they said, no, the students don't like that. Well, I can appreciate that. But then how do I do attendance? How do I make sure that they're doing the projects? For the longest, we've been doing this kind of critical assignments in 2005. I allow my students to provide drafts of their projects on a weekly basis. So I review each one weekly. I've usually taught 2 courses. That's 60 people. I was wondering if I was going insane because of the depth of work. This semester, I only have 10 people because they don't want to attend face-to-face in class. And the problem that I find in our course is that many of the students who are taking it who just transferred into Broward or from a community state school. Their first semester, they have no idea what they're doing. They don't know what the rigors of a university are, and they mess up continuously. So that's a challenge, and I'm trying to see how I can actually make that modification so we don't lose students. I'll be quiet now.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
Not at all.
And part of the answer to that is it has to be within your comfort level as well as theirs.
Yes.
Was someone else, did I jump in on someone? Sorry about that. But yeah, it has to be what you're comfortable with.
I agree. And when it comes to very in-depth assignments, a lot of the students that I have in my online courses are also not big on, due to their full-time work schedules, aren't really able to meet virtually. And there are some projects, like I have a semester-long project where it's very in-depth. And what I personally do is I'll create like a short video where I go into detail regarding what my expectations are, how I would, say if it's like a health policy analysis, how to analyze your topic and kind of take them step by step. And I also provide like an extra page in my course. I do like a little student resource module because regarding the semester long project, there's a number of different steps that, different things they have to submit for the specific project. So I literally create like a content page that includes kind of an example of each step, kind of so they get a clear idea of what I'm expecting. I know usually when we're in a face-to-face class, you get to explain that and provide that extra information when you're in class. I don't know if that helps at all, but you know, my input on this, but that's kind of the way I tend to you know, deal with it, just because depending, again, just like Michelle had mentioned, really depends on your class, on the students you have. I mean, when I have a very small class and it's a very in-depth project, I'll, you know, literally either meet with them. But when you're talking about, you know, a class of hitting 30 to 40 students, you know, or larger, that kind of becomes a little more difficult.
Yeah.
Dr. Chandra Shakar has something to add. You're unmuted.
So yeah, in that comment you mentioned, implied that the discussions were a minor assignment and something else was a major assignment. And I was left thinking, you know, discussions are the major assignments in my course. You know, my courses are all discussion oriented. And it's kind of very difficult to you know, be encouraging and supportive and also grade them, where I have to, you know, differentiate between the A's and the B's. And sometimes they don't understand that difference. I don't know if you had any, and the timeliness part of the, you know, where I come into, jump into the discussions too. So two issues. One is, you know, how to better time our input into the discussion. And two, how to balance, you know, being encouraging and, you know, grading as they should be graded in an online environment. In the face-to-face, like you said, you know, the video feedback, I think, is a really good option. But, you know, there's still something missing in this online format as opposed to the, I don't know if there's an answer, but, you know, I thought you might know if.
I think you bring up a really good point. And I think your first point about that in every course, you know, the role of the discussion board can be totally different from one course to another, whether it's a minor piece. You know, I use my discussion board as prep for major assignments. So we post brainstorming ideas, we post drafts, we post outlines, we post ideas so that we can get feedback for major assignments. It's kind of the bridge that gets us. It's a research course. It gets us from one area to the next. But if the discussion board and the dialogue is a major portion of your course, then you do want to devote a lot of time to that feedback. As far as the timeliness of when you jump in, it's an interesting point, and it's been discussed a lot in the literature, because there can be you can kill a conversation as a professor if you come in and you kind of give your golden compliment and say this is kind of how it should be. It can kind of mute some of the other participation in the course if they feel like you have given the answer and that it's no longer a topic of discussion. You know, you're kind of ruled on that. So I think it's important to, if you're going to participate in a discussion, to do it with questions, to think about what new question are you posing so that the students can then build from that instead of stating a fact, you know, of the content, which you can also do, but, you know, to leave them with a question. I think that's important too. And then as far as the A's and the B's and how to, you know, I like that you said, you know, I want to encourage them, but they also need to understand what my expectations are. I have found it to be pretty successful at the end of a discussion cycle to ask certain students if I may share a piece of their post as an exemplar so that students may see it. So I'll send out an announcement after a discussion board cycle and say, hey, really interesting conversations that went on this week. I just wanted to point out, you know, Stephanie's conversation here. Here's an example of it. I really liked the way she, you know, referred to the reading from the week, brought a conversation further, you know, brought in her own personal experience, and then ended with whatever. Let's all think about that as we move into the next discussion and kind of build from that. So I think doing some of that whole group feedback at the end can restate your expectations.
Excellent, thank you. Yeah, that makes sense.
Excellent. Yeah, and it has to be again within your own comfort level, and probably based on how you assess the discussions when you're meeting with them face to face. What do you use? It would be the same type of thing. It really would. Yeah. great conversations. Did we miss anyone else that wanted to speak? I saw a couple of things going through. And let me clarify for you that this particular format in WebEx is a little bit different than what you use for your class meetings, because in this case, attendee in this is exactly the same as participant in your class meeting. So you do have the same privileges, except that in the event you don't have, we have to let our wonderful Jade unmute you. So, but otherwise it is the same.
Dr. Brown-Bannock wanted to join in?
Yes, thank you. I thought I saw someone come in. Hi.
Dr. Brown-Bannock, you're unmuted.
Well, first of all, thank you. I'm not a doctor. I'm a PhD student myself, but I do teach undergrad communications. And in light of communications, I think it's really important for us as instructors to find out what type of communication works best for our students. I know that could be quite a burden with larger classes, but there are clearly students who need to see your face, who need the nonverbal communication, and who very well may need to have a scheduled time and date to hold their own selves accountable. Oh, okay, Professor so and so, it's 4 o'clock. I better get online and and then for their work style, their learning style, to back plan so that they get whatever they need to get done, because 4 o'clock is coming on Monday and I need it done by then because so I think we need to remember there are different learning styles, there are different personalities, and it's somebody was mentioning earlier, every class is going to be different. But at the onset, and maybe before the class date even starts, send out 2 questions. Hi, I'm your professor. Do you find yourself more introverted or extroverted? Because I want to make sure I teach you the best way that you can learn.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. And that you also mentioned to the questions, especially since we've all changed our format to one degree or another, sending out little short surveys. How's this going? What works for you? What can we do to make it different? Is easy, and it lets them know that you value they are getting, that it's important for you. So that is also a great tool to just do a quick quick, how's it going? What's up? And how can I help you? Yeah.
Right. Thank you. Yes.
Of course. Dr. Celestino, I can guarantee you that typing and spelling is probably not as critical. I can spell, but I'm a lousy typist. So it's just, and those are the things that make us real to our students, that, and you'll see my kitty coming across my lap and all of this. That's what makes us real. If everything was a polished professional look to it, it wouldn't have quite the hey, this is me type of approach. I love that. One of the other questions that I wanted to address is about what we can do to elicit student engagement, and that's been a good bit of the conversation that we've had all along. Anybody have any tips or tricks on student engagement? And then I'm also going to ask Jade to put the link to the Padlet back in so we can take a look at it before we wrap things up, please. Thank you. Student engagement. Has it?
Dr. Antonito had something to say.
Pardon?
I believe Dr. Antonito had something to say. Dr.
Okay, thank you.
You're unmuted.
Yeah, hi. Can you hear me?
Yeah.
Hi. It wasn't about student engagement, though. It was a question. It was sort of an ethics question, if that's okay. Yeah, I mean, I've taught a lot of online classes, but I've never had an on-campus class switch to online.
Right.
The students who are, this is something actually my sister brought up. She's a 4th grade teacher, and I thought this was interesting. She said that for her students, if they're doing any kind of, video type of, she gives them the opportunity to put some kind of background up so you don't, because you haven't been invited to their home, and and she tells her fourth graders even, I haven't been invited in, so don't show me anything in your house if you don't want me to see it or whatever. Or,
Great point.
so is there any kind of ethical guideline on handling that if students had opted to be in the classroom originally?
That is a great point, and I don't have an answer to that. We might have Dr. Gaylor. Is that something that you might have a response to? The ethics involved with all of a sudden now you're a guest in my home and there's my bookcase and whatever. Yeah.
You have the option to turn your camera off. Like you have multiple. I'm just trying to think through this out loud. Like you have the option to turn your camera off and to turn your mic off, so it's not mandatory for them to see it. Although there is a huge push now with all the platforms to be able to put in a virtual background behind you, which I think is probably the easiest thing is to do that. There's a bunch of stuff online. I still can't figure it out, but there's everybody else seems to be able to figure it out. But I think it's important. There's a million horror stories.
Yeah.
I think it goes into talking about what, the netiquette around this new format, what you need to be aware of, where you need to put yourself in a corner where nobody can walk by, all sorts of things I think are good conversations to have, just like you would have the conversation with a student. Hey, when you come to class, like, let's keep our phones off. Let's be dressed appropriately. Let's not be late. Let's, all those same type of norms. I think it's a great point to have that.
I think it's great. I think it's a great too. And just like Michelle said, I like the idea of providing maybe a little more detail. I know with my video presentations that I require my students to do, I mean, I go into detail as in, you need to be dressed professionally. You need to be in an area where people aren't talking to you or passing by because it gets distracting to the audience. But especially with what has happened the last couple of weeks and the way everyone had to switch over from face to face to online, that was a really great question, Jennifer. Hey, by the way.
Yeah. And is Dr. Gaylor's mic open? He's going to jump in on this conversation too.
I really don't have much more to add than what's already been added, but I know that I've been using WebEx with the students in the college classes, but I think that for my personal use, I've been using Zoom, and I know that there's a lot of issues going around right now regarding Zoom, regarding the FBI's warning about hacking and so on. But I've been having Zoom meetings with my family, for example. My daughter, who teaches at Broward, in the Broward public schools, an elementary school teacher, Zooms with her students. And there's a green screen option with Zoom. I don't know if WebEx has that capability. I've never really looked at it. But with the green screen, you can put whatever you want in the back. Picture your dog, or just leave it green. And certainly the idea that you turn off your camera if you don't want anyone seeing the inside of your home. So anyway.
Yeah, excellent. Thank you. And recognize that it is something you might want to address with your students. Let's have this little quick conversation. And in response to the Zoom comment, the Zoom company immediately addressed all of that. Now their things are all password protected, and you have to go into a waiting room, and the host has to open up and let you come in. So they were really right on it as soon as they did. And I keep up with it because my 5-year-old kindergartner has her classes on Zoom too. So it's a point in there. So this has been wonderful. Thank everyone for your conversations. And so thank you to all of you who joined us, and a special thanks to Nancy and Michelle for bringing their perspective in on this. They both work with other faculty as well as having had experience in their own online classes for quite a while. And we thank Ricky who tried to come in, and we will share his ideas with you on another time. And we have Nicole, did you want to address the event on Wednesday? Okay.
We will be having the Faculty Live Lounge on Wednesday at 3 p.m. It's an hour-long session where you guys can come and just share a discourse with some of our faculty who's more used to the online environment.
Yeah, yeah. Continue this conversation because it's a great one, and thank you all for that. Thank you for that. And I, again, really appreciate you joining in, and we will send the information back out to you later on today. And anything either one of you want to share that has come up or that we can put out for everybody, we will gladly do that. I so appreciate what everyone has contributed. Thank you, thank you, thank you.